Hey, what is going on YouTube? This is Broke Watch Fanatic and welcome back to my channel. Today I finally purchased a watch that has been so hyped in its initial release back in 2020, and that is the Tudor Black Bay 58 in blue. So Tudor has always been an intriguing brand for me since my watch collecting days back in 2017. As I learned more about the brand and its ties with Rolex, I always wanted to experience owning one. But as time went by, I kept finding myself wanting other brands such as Omega and Grand Seiko while pushing Tudor aside, and I'm not sure why. The Black Bay 58 seemed like such a perfect watch with its proportions, the symmetry with the no date, the weight, and the versatility it presents. Sure, it had its criticisms of not having an on-the-fly adjustment bracelet and the faux rivets, which by the way, I really don't find as big a deal as the internet says. But yeah, after trying on many of the watches I wanted to try, I felt it was time to finally own a Tudor of my own. The watch features a 39mm case with 20mm lug spacing. The bracelet tapers down to 16mm and comes in at 12mm thick. The wingspan is 47.7mm, and the case flanks are slab-sided, but with it being 12mm thin, it doesn't look out of place. Inside is Tudor's in-house caliber MT5402, which has a 70-hour power reserve and COSC certified. It also features the infamous faux rivets on the bracelet, which you can barely see when on the wrist, and has a 60-click rotating aluminum bezel. The crown is pleasantly large at 6.8mm, signed with Tudor's Rose logo. Let me start off with my likes with this watch. The proportions are great for my wrist size. It's not too big, not too small. It's not heavy on the wrist. It's thin enough to slip easily under the cuffs. It fits in with any outfit you put on, whether it be sporty, casual, or dressy. I like the fact that it is mostly brushed, so it doesn't scream for attention, with the exception of the case flanks and thin polished lines at the top edge of the lugs. The aluminum bezel is a home run for me. The warmth that it displays every time you look at your watch is always a nice change of pace, especially when most modern watches have shiny ceramic inserts. I always said that not all modern watches need to come with a ceramic insert. There's a time and place for that, and in this case, the Black Bay 58 looks best with an aluminum insert. The vintage-inspired diver pays homage to Tudor's first diver watch rated at 200 meters back in 1958 with its reference 7924, or Big Crown. So with that history and the proportions made for slimmer wrists is what attracted a lot of people upon its release. The snowflake hands were something I needed to get used to. I was initially put off by its design, but as with most things, it grew on me. And now I see one of Tudor's signature designs instead of an eyesore. The things I dislike are mostly centered around the bracelet and the clasp. The closing action on the clasp isn't as secure as I'd like. You have the swing arm action, which is fine, but it's the fold over clasp that closes with minimal pressure. It gives off the illusion that it'll flip open by accident. I know the chances are slim, but it would have been nice to have a bit more resistance on that fold over action to give the customer a better sense of security. I also had to get used to opening the clasp. Initially, I would flip open the small section and then dig my nail underneath the tab in front of the clasp. It didn't feel natural at all. But I learned through the internet that the best way to open the bracelet is to push up the clasp from the opposite end to release. Another way to open the clasp is to simply grab the sides and pull while pushing down on the link in front of the tab. It's nice that Tudor designed this clasp that shows the Tudor shield when closed, but they definitely put function on the back burner when they designed this. And lastly, the first link on the 6 o'clock side right after the clasp does not articulate down at all, thereby extending the inner length of the clasp. It is deceptively long since the clasp is quite short. When I measured the ends that stick out, it measured at 56.7mm long. Imagine wearing a watch with a lug-to-lug distance of that much. I'm not sure what Tudor was thinking, You get people's hopes up when you release a smaller diver and then realize that the clasp is ridiculously and deceptively long. A bit frustrating if you ask me. The function of this bracelet just seemed to be an afterthought in my opinion. To be honest, I knew all of these issues ahead of time when I purchased this watch, but I knew there were solutions and still wanted to try it out for myself. One of the solutions is the half link from Uncle Straps. I bought this half link to help reduce the length of that bottom distance. With the helpful tip of Engineer Wannabe, I replaced the first link closest to the 6 o'clock side of the clasp, and this is how it looks now. So before and after. And if this bracelet doesn't suit you, there are other options out there such as the Jubilee style bracelet. Overall, I think this watch is happy in my collection. It's refreshing to see a no-date diver in a sea of watches with dates in my watch box. Tudor just needs to update the clasp, which I believe there are rumors circulating right now. When they do so, this watch will be that much better. Until next time, take care everyone.